Hi, this is my second video on how to keep writing your book. I've got 3 more tips for you guys if you missed my last video. Just click back and check it out. There's 3 tips that I gave you from a little book I wrote for authors called How to Keep Writing Your Book. 4 is how do you function? So everybody functions in a different way. Every author, every single person on this planet has a different way they think and they process information. I'm reading a really good book called Switch on Your Brain and another one that's called The Gift in You, and it's really taught me a lot about how I function and how I think, how I process information. So discovering that part of the way you operate is really important when you're trying to write your book. Years I realized that I don't like people figuring out my plot for me. That was something, even when I was a little kid, well, not, little, but like when I was a teenager, I remember starting a series called the Contender series, which I never published, but I started this series, and my younger brother, gave me some ideas, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really good, that's a cool idea. And then I would go to my computer and literally sit down to write, and it was like, nothing. I had nothing. I couldn't do it. So over the years, not to take advice from people, almost like I would get, tips from people if I was stuck, but not giving me a plot. If I had no plot for my story, I would just set that story aside. That over the years, that was something, the way that I function. I was just like, you know what? I can't get advice from people. I can't let them give me too much information because I would grow bored. So how you function, you need to find that. If you're a visual person, you need to picture your story out in your mind and get all the details and write it all down and plan it out. Well, maybe you do that. Maybe music makes you function as a writer. You put something inspirational on so you can keep writing your book. Tip 4, let's go to Tip 5 is let your story talk to you. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, letting your story talk to you is pretty much tuning into your characters, tuning into what they're doing. Characters have stopped talking to you. There's usually a reason. Most of the time, it's an emotional thing. We're going through a hard time in our life. It could be your family, it could be your marriage, something that is causing something to block that character from talking to you. And you just have to kind of unwind. Maybe you're stressed out about something, figure out why, and then you can keep writing your book. So that's tip 5 for you. Last tip I want to give you is do your style. So every author has a different style. Every reader has a different style. That's everybody likes different. Some people love it, some people hate it. I know I read a book called The Replacement, and I loved this book. It was so unique. It was so different. I remember reading a few reviews on Goodreads, and I was shocked. I was honestly shocked how low the rating was on Goodreads because people hated the main character, where I loved him. I thought he was different and interesting. So everybody has a different style. Everybody has a different way they write. Everybody has a different way they read. But the most important thing to do and how to keep writing your book is to do your style. As an author, my style of reading that I enjoy is young adult fiction, which is very simplistic, not a lot of details, a lot on the characters. I like funny characters. I like dialogue, a really good plot. I have to have a really solid plot for me to enjoy a story. If the plot's lacking, then I just have to toss it out because it can't be cheesy. The characters have to be interesting. There needs to be flavor. I don't really enjoy the detailed type of writing or the detailed type of reading. So if you're that way, then do your style. Don't try to be somebody else you're not. Recently just finished a fantasy book, which I talked about in my last video, called the Jade series. And this story the stories taught me a whole lot in the fact that I needed to do my style, because they were so hard for me to get through, and they were so much stress. And compared to writing books like my story, Grace Alive, or Zara, they were so easy for me. I wrote Grace Alive in 10 days, and it was 60,000 words in 10 days because it was my style. It was realistic, it was easy, I had humor. That was my style. So my last tip for you today for this video is do your style. Nobody else can do your style. So that is the last tip for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and tune in for some more tips.